Right, welcome back, guys, to our next, or an addendum for the tier list. I was going to say the next tier list. No, this is an addendum because finally we got that FAQ. We alluded at it last week. So we have 4 characters here that have had an upgrade. We're going to cover them. I get Tony and Mark joining me once again. And for some reason, you need 5 units to make a tier list. So we've got the tactical squad making up the numbers.
Let's get the tactical marines out of the way right away.
I thought we just want to address the elephant in the room when the last tier list was released. We didn't actually know that 2 days before this went on the internet, an update had been dropped.
Yes.
Yeah,
we didn't know. I'm sorry.
We didn't know when we filmed it. We knew when we released it. Well, John knew when he released it.
Yes. To be fair, if I probably hadn't spent an entire evening editing it after you made fun of my headers and my footers and all that, then maybe it would have got delayed a week.
This tier list is lacking a title. It doesn't have a good one or a bad one. It just doesn't have any title on it at all this time.
I was going to say it's going to get a title in post-production because I actually do a little bit of editing.
Post, all right.
So thanks again for joining us, guys. I guess we're going to kick off straight away with Gabriel Seth. Would that make sense?
Yeah, sure, go for it. So, just very quickly, this is covering foot slogging, Tacticus, and what remaining firstborn Marines there are. And it's all the ones that got updated in the very recent Blood Angel index update, going to updating the references where the leaders reference units that no longer exist and don't reference new units got added in the latest Codex Space Marines. So, we got 4 characters to cover, essentially, that we did dirty in the video without knowing.
Yep, and I think all of them are pretty much similar. I mean, we'll dive into each one individually, but Seth can join Assault Intercessor Squads, Company Heroes, Sternguard Veterans. That's his 3 options now.
Assault Ints, Company Heroes, Sternguard, Tax. Well, Tax is still technically an option, yeah. Yeah,
I wish they'd put what's not Legends in brackets, but yes, Assault Squads, Command Squad and Vanguard Veteran Squads on foot are the Legends. So, Seth, joining Assault Intercessors or Company Heroes probably would make the most sense. He's going to give them Advance and Charge.
Yep.
He's got a fairly decent weapon. Sustained 1 for every 5 models within 6 inches. You're going to get an extra hit. So, realistic, you're probably making 7 attacks most of the time with sustained 1, strength 8, -2, 3 damage. Could be good in Gladius, could be good in Sons of Sanguinius, and I guess the advantage of attaching them to Assault Intercessors is you'd reroll some wounds, ones if you're not on fighting an objective, or all wound rolls if you're on an objective. And if you attach them to Company Heroes, then the Company Heroes make you -1 to wound, and it would actually make Seth OC2 if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
And that would be a convenient loadout to fit in an Impulsor.
Yeah, or an Repulsor Executioner. 5 guys, and it's 5 guys for 22 wounds. OC 10, I believe, if you attach the Company Heroes.
Yeah.
So, first question, do either of you like either of those options?
How many points is that?
So Seth is 90, and the Company Heroes are 95. So it would be 185. Each Company Hero...
and a bunch of OC.
Yep, and -1 to wound as well. Company Heroes have 1 melee weapon, in that the Master-crafted power weapon on the Ancient is 6 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 5, -2, 2 damage.
So the -1 to wound is nice, but ultimately it means that when you shoot at them, you're not going to be wounding on 3s. Majoritively, you're going to be wounding on 4s, which doesn't make a ton of difference, really.
Well, mathematically it does, but how often are you going to get them shot at is my kind of thought. We're talking about putting them in impulses and that, which is just ablative wounds. And a lot of people seem quite excited about Gabriel Seth and the Company Veterans, and I just don't see the point in making him, because what you've ended up with is a squad that's pretty good at blending relatively heavier infantry that doesn't have an invuln save or particularly heavy armor, because it's a 2-up save and you're still wounding it on it's still getting a 5-up save against you. So I'm not a fan of that combo at all. I don't mind. That's not me saying I think Seth is particularly bad. I think he's quite good for 90 points, but I think he's better with assault intercessors than just really doubling down on the. I'm going to make a unit that's going to blend things that want blending. Because, I just don't see putting him in a unit that's not outrageously good in combat. Giving them advance and charge isn't really going to benefit them particularly.
I guess that's a good argument.
The assault ents are insanely good, but they're more melee focused than company heroes, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, if you put them with Blade Guard, that'd be spectacular, but you still can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the reason to attach them to company heroes is you make a durable unit with 22 wounds, OC 10, and I mean, you're fishing a little bit beyond that. It's durable and it's a lot of OC.
It'll mince some things, and then it'll die. Because there's still 3-up armor save. Okay, so he's got invulnerable save of 4-up, and you've got 5 models at the end of the day. There's a few wounds to chew through, but I don't know. The 5 company heroes is going to be about as difficult to kill, maybe a little bit more so than the assault intercessors of 10 of those, really.
Potentially, yeah.
You'll have the same amount of wounds at the same amount of armor save. So,
I'm not sold on the combat. I think if you're going to do that, because you're going to play with the Librarian Dreadnought and be flinging it onto things, I think there's a better option than Gabriel Seth to go with the unit.
Yeah, the problem is if you do that, then you completely waste the rules that allow him to advance and charge because you can't advance after being thrown forward.
Yeah. I'd stick him on the same as we said, the assault intercessors in the last episode. They're quite good at clearing things off and clearing infantry off of objectives. Yeah. So sticking him in that unit is going to make them even better at clearing infantry off of objectives.
Yeah.
And that's what he's for.
So just real quick before we move on, if you guys are sold on assault intercessors, then the play here, the potential play is, I don't know if it's a good play, but I was thinking about this.
I don't know if it's a good play.
It could be Seth plus 10 assault intercessors plus a Sanguinary Priest. So Seth becomes AP3, all the assault intercessors become AP2, you wound reroll a little bit depending on where you're fighting, and then the final play would be put that inside a Land Raider. So because I guess the weakness with Seth in that is that they don't move very fast. Obviously a Land Raider can move 10 inches, disembark 3, and then charge.
If you do that, then you're paying points for Gabriel Seth's advance and charge rule, which you're not using, because you can't disembark after the Land Raider has moved and then advance and charge.
True.
At which point you might as well do a repulsor and save yourself 80 points.
Yeah, it was just if you're going to try and do 10.
I don't think I'd go quite, because how many points is a Sanguinary Priest?
75, I think, is what we checked last week.
So 75 points to give him a bit of a buff.
80 points.
I could argue maybe putting that in there if you really wanted your assault intercessors to hit really, really hard and clear the midfield. But I definitely wouldn't put them in a Land Raider. I just don't think that you're going to get... I think there's better things I could put in a Land Raider if I wanted to transport things.
Okay. All right, I'm just trying to throw all the options out before we put them in.
I think you could certainly make a very killy unit, but it's going to get quite a lot of points. And it's still only going to blend infantry.
And it'll still be relatively easy to kill at the end of the day, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I mean, -1 to wound or not, toughness 4, 3-up armor save is not durable.
So where so if I put you guys on the spot, if you have to run Seth, who are you attaching them to? How many? 5 assault intercessors? 10? What are you thinking you're doing?
Don't
know. Okay.
Yeah,
there's an argument to be made for both. He doesn't buff his squad except for the advance and charge. So taking more assault intercessors, there's no force multiplier active in there, really.
Yeah.
No.
So take him with a 5-man unit. You think assault intercessors. Yeah.
How many points is 5 assault intercessors? 90 points?
80.
Yeah, about that.
80 points.
Yeah,
I'd have to do the maths, to be honest, because his 5 assault intercessors and giving him reroll wounds or having 1 melee weapon and a slightly tougher unit better for the company heroes and just trying to do the same sort of thing. I think running him with 10 will multiply that buff a little bit. Giving him the advance and charge to a bigger unit is going to have more of an effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Running him as 5, then you're saying I'm giving him 5 ablative wounds and I'm going to give him reroll wounds for 80 points.
Yeah. Well, that's really the two options. You can obviously use Stern Guard as well, but Stern Guard aren't really shooting you a melee unit, are they?
No, not anymore.
No, they've got melee elements, but they're not a melee unit by any stretch.
Okay. Where do you want to put Seth?
You could put a lieutenant with it. You could put an apothecary with it.
Mm-hmm.
You could put an ancient with it for
putting a lieutenant with it could be quite nice, couldn't it? Because that's
lethal
not very...
hits on the unit as well as Gabriel Seth. Yeah.
Lethal hits. Give them run 10 assault intercessors, lethal hits.
You
fall back and charge.
Yeah.
On 10 of them, that's quite a lot of melee.
That's possibly the best option, actually. Yeah.
And you kind of got to deal with it at that point because it's just going to keep going and going and going and going. It's not going to be resilient at all, but we've already covered that.
Yep. Agreed.
I think trying to make it resilient is maybe you're onto a bit of a loser because you can't make it that resilient.
You can't polish a turn.
You're just going to have a slightly more resilient unit that's not that resilient, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So just maybe lean into getting as many chain swords attached to them as you can and try and blend anything that's... And it's not that expensive, really.
No, I mean, it's not expensive. It's probably like 30 or 40 points cheaper than trying to do like a Death Company plus Chaplain, but then obviously with the Death Company you move a little bit faster and you get 2 damage weapons.
Yeah,
so
plus 1 with the Chaplain as well, which makes them even more insanely lethal. But
so it's
I don't think if you get them all wiped out after they've run around in the midfield, hiding in buildings and killing anybody who comes nearby, isn't the end of the world. So, and it is a bit of a distraction.
So somewhere,
I think that's how I'd run him.
Around a B tier for Seth?
Yeah, I'd say a high B.
Where do we put assault intercessors?
Oh, that's a very good question. One that
because I'd put him right alongside him.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. I'm fairly sure we didn't put them in A.
We definitely didn't put them in A. I think we put
very few things in A and one thing in S.
We must have put them in B then, I guess.
Yeah.
I think we put him in B. I think he's probably, without taking the piss, our best melee character at the moment.
Right, hold on, I'll tell you. We put assault intercessors in the middle of B tier, yes.
Yeah, okay. So top B, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he's the best melee character we've got. It's just unfortunate in the current edition that melee characters aren't particularly good.
I am really tempted to run him though, I must admit.
I don't think you. That's why he's in B. You're not doing yourself a disservice by running him. It's just perhaps not the optimal thing to run.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a solid model.
Yep. Okay.
He just won't win you games on his Todd.
Yeah.
Or with his assault intercessor buddies, because you could teleport that unit around. So teleport them into cover somewhere, and then the turn after advance and charge out of that cover.
Yeah.
After something else.
Yeah, it's very
with cover and some. It'd be kind of 50-50 whether you want to waste armor contempt on them or not. But
you do. But if you keep them, you got to play them quite cagey and keep them out of getting shot at. But
okay, we happy with that?
I think so.
What's next?
Do you want to do Tycho next? Because I've got his rules up in front of us.
No, I don't want to do Tycho next. I think you should find someone else.
Okay.
Let's do Tycho. If you found him, let's do Tycho. It's fine.
It's similar. Stern Guards, Company Heroes, Assault Intercessors. He can give units Assault Heavy or Rapid Fire, 1. And then obviously the first time damage is dealt to Tycho, he changes his melee profile.
Let's go back and be a bit more specific there. He can give it to them when they shoot.
True.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, right. So I guess because he gives them to shoot, you can't use it for like action shenanigans. Is basically what you're saying. Yes.
No, I'm just the way you were saying it. If he gives them assault and heavy, no, I'm talking out my ass. I don't know why I thought they were keywords that you could apply to melee combat. Sorry, move on. Ignore me.
While this model is unit, each time it's selected to shoot. No, I think it's relevant because you wouldn't be able to advance and then say Tycho gave my guys assault. They can do actions because they're not shooting. He only gives it to them when they shoot, right?
If they're selected to shoot and you've given them the assault rule, then they can still do an action.
But you've got to shoot to get that, I think.
If you shoot... No, so I think the reason it's written that way is so you couldn't advance your unit, say that unit's doing an action, and then have 4 of the guys shoot or something like that, because you haven't been selected to shoot. Henceforth, you don't have the keyword. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's
it's to do with the order you do it in,
specific timing that.
It's just the way it's worded. Yes. Okay. So that's fine. Every time you're selected to shoot, you get assault, heavy, or rapid fire 1. You choose one of them.
Yep.
Most of the time, having run this myself, the best thing to give is rapid fire 1, because if you give rapid fire 1, then with you're in 12 inches, you get an extra shot with his blood song, because his blood song would benefit from the rapid fire 1, right? So you get an extra shot with his melter gun. So you want to be realistically attached to a unit that's going to benefit from rapid fire 1. Stern Guard veterans are not going to benefit from rapid fire 1 because their Stern Guard rifles already have rapid fire 1, if I'm correct. And their combi bolters, I don't know if they have rapid fire 1. I kind of feel like they do.
Specifically said instances of these rules do not stack. You just pick one of the instances you want to use at a time, yes.
Yeah.
So he can attach the Stern Guard, but honestly, it's not. Yeah, both the Stern Guard's weapons, the combi weapons, and their bolt rifles have rapid fire 1. So, I guess you could give them assault if you wanted to attach them to Stern Guard,
which gives them mobility, move and shoot. Yeah.
Cool. Or you can attach them to assault intercessors. He doesn't get that many attacks. He would benefit a lot from rerolls to wound, though, because he's only strength 4.
Or company heroes.
Or you could attach him to the company hero squad, which he might give a bit of benefit to. Because he would give rapid fire 1 to their heavy bolter. It's super minor. But obviously the mastercrafted bolt rifle already has rapid fire. I guess he would give 1 extra shot on the heavy bolter, and he would give 1 extra shot on the bolt rifle if he was attached to them.
So, given that he buffs shooting, you want to use him with a shooting unit, which is fine. You can't add him to Hellblasters, which is a shame, but possibly for the best. Assault Intercessors wouldn't make the most of his buffs. Company Heroes would make some use. Stone Guard would make some use. Is that something you want to take in your army?
How many points is he?
He is stonking 75 points.
So 75 points for a couple of extra shots and his own shots that are relatively good. So get against infantry anyway.
And being a captain, a unit could also join him with a lieutenant or apothecary or ancient or sanguinary priest if you really wanted to. But then you're mixing melee buffs with shooting buffs, and it gets a little bit going in multiple directions at the same time.
His melee is okay. It's quite funny that he gets 12 attacks, but there's still only strength 4. There's still only basically chainsword attacks.
Yeah.
With damage 2.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So
they're like digital weapons on his fist, if I recall correctly. Jocko digital weapons.
I thought it was just his hand. He's got a robot hand.
Okay, I've got one play for you. You might like it, you might not like it. You attach them to the squad of company heroes so that they're -1 to wound. Use them as a shooting unit. So they stand there and shoot with the additional rapid fire shots that they get. You also attach an apothecary, so when they inevitably do kill your toughness 4 wound company heroes, you just revive 1 every turn.
Bring them back. Yeah.
I think that's probably the best play for him. And then you teleport that unit onto an objective.
And that would be OC 12, so you just sit there the whole game.
And he just sits there and tries not to die as much as any Space Marine unit can.
-1 to wound would help.
Yeah, and when it does die, you bring back a rather chunky model with the apothecary.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the same number of wounds as Storm Shield Terminators, which is impressive, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just double down on number of wounds, then you could go Sanguinary Priest instead of Apothecary and get the 5 up Feel No Pain instead of resing a model.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would probably average out slightly better, I imagine.
It depends. You're taking a gamble whether or not your opponent's going to wipe out your entire unit in one shooting phase before the Apothecary gets to res a model, or not.
True. I think with -1 to wound, it would be hard, though. Right?
Depends what sort of firepower they allocate to them. At the end of the day, they are only toughness 4 models as well.
Yeah.
They are, but having -1 to wound means that you'd have to use actual bigger guns or anti-tank guns. And if they're shooting your anti-tank guns into that unit, well, then they're not shooting your tanks.
Yeah, no one's going to want to be wasting las cannons into company heroes, right?
Especially if they like las cannons, because they've got D6 damage. So you might roll a 2 or a 3 and not quite kill someone. And then the next las cannon does 1 wound.
Yeah.
Because 4 wounds is quite an annoying number.
So the difference between him and company heroes and a priest or apothecary and Seth and company heroes and priest or apothecary is one's melee, one's shooting, ultimately.
Yeah. So he gets to do his thing whilst holding an objective, whereas Seth doesn't get to do his thing because he needs to be leaving the objective to go and chase the next one.
Or charging onto an objective, yeah.
Or charging on. Yeah, but once you've got it, you don't want to stay there with him, but you could with Tycho.
Indeed.
And Tycho's gun is pretty nice. Mouth of 2 devastating wounds.
It's not bad.
So, and against infantry, every 4 up, I guess, is 4 mortal wounds. He gets 3 shots a turn. Well, 4 up within half range, sorry, is 4 mortal wounds.
It's a nice combo. I still don't think it's game winning, but
no,
it's certainly playable.
We had him previously in the D tier next to Seth. Based on what we're saying here, is maybe even a little bit better than Seth, is he?
Oh, I'd put him right next to Seth now.
Better or worse?
Yeah.
I think he's very good at killing infantry.
He's better in different ways. He's got a slightly different use.
He's potentially going to score you more points than Seth, but killing infantry, apart from the fact he gets to shoot them, he's still going to be within 12. I'd say Seth's probably better at killing infantry than he is. If he's got his big old unit of death with him as well.
They both do slightly different things, ultimately.
Yeah. They're just different. They're for different purposes. Tycho is a point scoring unit.
I think before this, my gut told me I really wanted to run Seth, but I think having spoke about it, I feel like Tycho's a better choice.
You are not much of a charge forward, rah, kill everything kind of a player.
No.
Tycho speaks the way we've spoken about him here a lot more to how I understand your playstyle to be from having watched 1 or 2 games of yours.
If you're running something like the Librarian Dreadnought with him, he's a quite tough point scoring unit for 170 points or whatever it will cost. 165 points. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to chuck the Apothecary in there as well, it's just over 200 points.
Yeah, I think because he could be attached, I think the company heroes make sense to attach to him. I think it gives you a lot of decent firepower, and it gives you some use of his rapid fire as well. So if you teleported him somewhere between 9 and 12 inches away from the enemy, you know, you get his 3 melta shots, which every 4 up to wound is 4 mortal wounds. Against infantry. You get 4 heavy bolter shots with sustained 2, and those are 3 damage heavy bolter shots. You would get 3 mastercrafted bolt rifle shots, which are 2 damage mastercrafted bolt rifle shots, and then you would get another 3 regular bolt rifle shots. So you're basically getting 10 shots, give or take. -1, 2 to 3 damage, and then his potential 12 mortal wounds.
And you don't have to be, but that is a unit's worth of shooting that would benefit from oaths quite well.
It would, and it can just sit on an objective and be OC 12 and -1 to wound, and hopefully be somewhere in cover. I like it. I think it's better than Seth.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do too. I think I'd be more likely to, if I was actively try hard, I'd run Tycho over Seth at the moment, I think.
I just spent like my whole Saturday afternoon modelling a Seth. Why did I do that?
I saw that as well.
Because you've already got a Corbulo. You've already got a Tycho.
A Tycho. I've just painted as well. Bonus. Okay, let's go on to Brother Corbulo. Brother Corbulo is a weird one. And the reason he's weird is he can attach. He used to be able to attach to tactical and dev squads. We had him in the D tier before. He can now attach to assault and intercessor squads and Stern Guard veteran squads. But the weird thing about him is where the other priests are allowed to also join a squad already attached to by like a captain or whatever. For whatever reason, Corbulo is not allowed to do that.
Well, he's not just a pleb priest, is he? He's the chief high poobah priest.
Well, he does his ability is the exact same 5 up, feel no pain.
Yep.
But his other one is +1 attack as opposed to +1 AP.
Yep. And frankly, I'd rather have AP at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I think the AP's better.
So he's 75 points, and a regular Sanguinary Priest on foot is 80 points. So at least they've recognised the fact that the Priest is worth a little bit more in terms of points than Corbulo, which is daft when you think about it. This guy's the leader of all the Blood Angel Priests. Why is he weaker than just a regular Sanguinary Priest? It doesn't make an awful lot of sense.
No, I mean, his chain sword is minorly better than a chain sword.
Yeah. 5 up Feel No Pain is not nothing.
No, it's cool.
+1 attack is not nothing.
I mean, sticking him in a squad, again, of Assault Intercessors, that's 10 strong, and then putting them inside the Sanguinius detachment would be funny.
How many attacks would that be?
60.
Which is orc numbers.
Would you rather? The question is, would you rather 50 with 1 extra AP? I feel like you would rather 50 with 1 extra AP.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but 60 would be funny.
60 would be funny, especially
because
when you start
60
have
strength
for 03 rolls.
Well, no, hang on. It'd be more than that.
Why would
it? Would be 60 for the squad.
Oh, plus his. Yeah.
Plus his 8 at strength 6 AP minus. No, yeah, strength 6 AP minus 1.
Yeah, okay. 68 chain swords against, but it would be against 57 minus 2. I feel like 57 at minus 2 would beat 68 at minus 1.
And statistically, you'd have at least 1 6 in there, so you'd have another hit from Corbs, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's 5 points cheaper than a Sanguinary Priest. I think the verdict here is because he is worse than a Sanguinary Priest. He can't attach to as many things as a Sanguinary Priest, and he can't attach to other squads that already have things attached. So,
is there a way we can give him lethal hits?
No, because nothing else can attach.
No,
and you can't give. You can't.
He doesn't have any of the keywords that a lieutenant can join alongside.
Yeah, I mean, you could play Red Rampage on them on the charge to get lethal hits and lands.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean,
that would be bananas.
That would be quite crazy. It's true.
I still think 57 at minus 2 is better than 68 at minus 1. Like quite a lot better.
At that point, the number of extra dice you're rolling doesn't make as much difference.
No,
because you're already rolling a stupid number of dice.
So I feel like he might be allowed out of the D tier, but I think he still needs to be in the C tier. He's still pretty crap.
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. I'm just seeing if I can think of some way of making him work. He doesn't.
No, he's slightly better than he was before, which isn't saying very much. But
Excuse me. All right, so here's the Sanguinary Priest, who is the 5 point more expensive version. He gives you the 1 extra AP.
Yep.
He obviously has 1 less attack and 1 less strength on the chainsword and no sustained 1.
Which is fine.
And you can attach to basically the exact same thing. Sternguard, Tactical, Devastators, Assault, Intercessors. But you get the option to also attach to, already been attached by a Captain, a Chapter Master, a Lieutenant, which I think probably elevates him above Corbulo by itself. But then I think we've all just agreed that 1 extra AP on volume of attacks is better than more attacks at lesser AP, right? For the most part. Most of the time, that's better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So,
AP minus 2 is quite a nice number. I know they're getting kicked around at the moment because they're a bit shit, but there's still a fair few custos running around, and there's quite a lot of Terminators running around at the moment. So AP minus 2 sticks them on their invuln. So any more than that would be wasted anyway.
If you want to be really interesting in things, run it in Gladius and stack it with the extra +1 AP you get with their strat, and suddenly you've got AP3 things kicking around a lot.
Yeah, and their strat also gives them Lance on the charge. So you would get +1 to wound and AP3, and I think that's possibly the most exciting thing about the Sanguinary Priest chain.
That starts kicking some serious ass, yeah.
That might stack quite nicely, actually, with that big unit of Assault Intercessors we were talking about earlier with Gabriel Seth.
It would, because it would make Gabriel Seth AP4.
Yep.
So it would be Strength 8, AP4, 3 damage.
Which is Gladius rather than
which is the best melee that we've got by a long shot. I mean it
would blend stuff very effectively.
Yeah.
The only problem with that over the Sons of Sanguinius one is you would now be only strength 4 with all those assault intercessors.
True.
Which would
True,
mean
you would
that
have +1 to wound, and you would have 3 AP.
equal +1 to wound. Strength 4 means anything toughness 8 or higher. You're still only winning on 5s, whereas if you're strength 5, that gets you all the way up to toughness 10.
True. Do you get some rerolls with assault intercessors, I guess, so you'd have to pick and choose wisely.
You would.
So I think the priest's probably decent now. Where does he draw then? Does he join B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, quite happily.
Does he go any higher than B, or just think B?
Nah.
Because you're buffing units that aren't optimal.
Yeah.
He's a great buff for a unit that, unfortunately, in this current state of affairs, isn't really very optimal to bring.
They're good, they're solid, but they're not game winning. Inherently, in and of themselves.
And last question: do we take tacticals out of the D tier based on these changes, or
no? If there was a in the bin tier, there'd be in that. Just to quote, was it 3 years ago or whatever when we first filmed this? They're shit. They were shit then, and they're still shit now.
Okay, and on that bombshell, that is the end of this part of the tier list. Join us next time when we talk about jump intercessors and Phobos.
Are we doing them next? What? No, they're 2 different videos, mate.
I hope they're not,
in one video and Phobos in a different video.
I hope they're not, because they spent ages getting those pictures ready to film literally right now.
Well, we're going to find this out.
In
the next video.
Okay, woo, drama.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Good night.
Ta-da.
Bye-bye.